Hello and welcome to the show. Um, Here we are talking about Return of the Outcasts, week 3. I'm joined by my good friend Max. Uh,
CK, how are we?
I'm well, but those that are already tuning in or those that will tune in shortly will notice the absence of Annabelle, which is frankly, from a production point of view, a disaster. She's the star, undoubtedly the star of the program, and really who people tune into, not to see you or I. When I put together this crew of the three of us, one thing I wanted to avoid was a bunch of straight guys talking about stuff, and that's what we've got here. We already lost a viewer. Someone's already tuned out. They signed in,
Look,
heard this news, and
it makes
they're.
sense. Look, I would sign out too if it was just us two and not Annabelle here today. Like,
I agree. So I
I
don't
think
blame
we're here
anyone.
because we're obliged. No.
Look, she has no internet and doesn't have the ability to hotspot for some reason. So uh, she's in a world of pain because she doesn't have a normal television. She only streams. So she's. What did she say? She had to read the history of the Quran. Is that what she
I
said?
think so. Something like that. I'm sure she's got plenty of books at home, but obviously she's gonna have to make do with that. But she
I'm
does have a new dog, so
That's
her
right.
new dog.
The new dog. Hang on, I can share the dog potentially. So I'll get to the dog in a moment. I feel like this is like if you showed up to watch Nirvana and found out that Kurt Cobain had died, and all that was left was Dave Grohl and Chris Novoselic. And as talented as they both are, and went on in life, particularly Dave Grohl, but Novoselic was actually a congressman for a while. Um, uh, you still thought you were seeing Nirvana and Kurt Cobain. So we understand that's the viewers' prerogative, but we'll do our best to provide a quality program today. Why don't you talk about how you saw the week while I try and get the picture of this dog up for everyone's enjoyment?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, please don't skip the dog. It's the cutest dog in the world, toy poodle called Puffy Fluffykins. Absolute adorable little fluff
What what
ball who's going to be
what
the
sort of
best dog.
poodle?
It's a toy poodle.
A toy, a
Toy
toy
poodle. So
poodle.
the smallest type of purebred poodles you can get. So there's toy poodles, miniature poodle, and then the normal poodle size. I'm pretty sure, and then obviously you have the all sorts of crosses of different types of poodles out there. They're a very popular crossbreeding dog. But
There's
oh, here
Max
we
with the
go.
dog.
There he is. There's Puffy. Very cute
Uh,
little dog.
For those who aren't watching the live stream, who are listening to this in the podcast form after the fact, you shouldn't do that. You should watch the live stream because you're missing out on the dog, which almost makes up for the lack of Annabelle. Almost.
There we go. Oh, we can make Puffy the new star.
Oh, we've got
Nah.
a viewer. Eggle V is a fan of the dog, so already got a follower. Maybe the dog. Well, the dog has its own Instagram, Max.
Oh, you never know. But then I think the dog will probably have more followers than me by within a couple of days. So no,
We'll
I
get
don't.
this
I don't
Instagram
think there's going to
afterwards.
be. I don't think there'll be Instagram of the dog. If there's enough people that are after it, then maybe. Who knows? But we'll see. We'll see.
Now, I must say, I found this week. I don't know if this is just me, but I found this week of this season a bit of a drag. Did you feel that way, or are you still just red hot into it?
I actually enjoyed it. I felt the challenges were different, even though we've seen glimpses of them before. And I felt like the gameplay moving into what we know was the merge, and it was coming up. Um, Added for a bit more just spice within these early pre-merge boots. And I think last our last podcast, CK, I was talking about how much I enjoyed Pinty and Teresa and how how far I thought they were going to go into the game for them to then simultaneously be knocked out back to back is quite crushing. And as a commentator, I guess, of the game now, um, kind of makes me look a little silly. But they were very good TV. I love the transition of Pinty's kind of villainette at the start and then becoming a really likable player and
Was
just
she
someone
though?
I enjoyed watching. I enjoyed it. Like I genuinely,
Yeah, she was
uh,
enjoyable. There's no doubt
I
about that. I don't
genuinely.
know. You think the cast liked her? I don't know about that so
No,
much.
I think the cast definitely didn't get along because she would have been terrible to live with in those conditions. But for our the viewers' benefit, she was great.
I agree. Great content, and I thought that someone like her might be kept around. I didn't see Thorizo being a target. It was very interesting to see those two go. And unfortunately, the Dante's paradise that we thought we might be walking into in the merge with him trying to take out every other alpha male or beta male or any other male he can see. Has not gone into this third week. Or he's tried. He's tried the whole week to get Dino out, but
He has
but
been.
but notwithstanding, it has been the women that got voted out, and we're more in a Dante's Inferno now, where it's less the all women merge we were sort of hoping for. But
Yeah.
still, look, and obviously I'm a huge fan of Palessa, and I think it was a very difficult way for her to go out in that sort of circumstance. So we can talk about that twist in a little moment, but.
Yeah.
She, in terms of this season, Palessa was. Yeah, Josh says we're missing the social part of the total package. Well, I don't know what to do about that, but maybe hold on. Yes, an update of the draft picks. All right, we will do that, Matthew. Don't you
We'll
worry.
definitely do that.
I feel like Palessa was playing a really good social game, which was identified by the other players, but she wasn't the level of queen that I found her to be in the previous season. So I felt like all three of these boots were somewhat unexciting, but it does mean we've got a very exciting merge coming up. How did you feel about these three boots?
Yeah, I felt like they could have been the predictable pre-merge earlier boots than just right before the merge, if that makes sense. I feel like both Pinty and Terizo could have easily been one of the first boots, and for them to get to a point where I saw them potentially going really far into the game, given their, I don't want to be rude at their GOAT sort of status, but I felt like they could have gone a lot further than being that easy sort of pre-merge votes, as we just saw in the last few episodes. But I feel like there hasn't been that wow factor sort of vote off yet, and I really feel like if that Dante vote had have gone instead of Shona, I would have think like the game would have been a lot different as what we're seeing now, and obviously it changes the complexities of the merge coming up this week.
I agree with you, Matthew. She was probably more like you, very level-headed, very calm, very social, not being super flashy and aggressive. And that's how you played your backyard season. So maybe, but I found you entertaining still. I think her difficulty was not having a foil like Tom. She did play a better social game, but she didn't have that adversary that was a huge part of her story for the first time.
I feel
I
like
feel like
maybe
yeah.
her one of her downfalls was probably the fact that she did play the fence and didn't kind of solidify that alliance. Because I felt like within her edit leading up to her boot, she was really kind of play that like strategic social game where she's not disappointing anyone, and as a result, that could have been the reason for her getting snuffed. So
Well, she got snuffed because of this twist, and I think we should have a little chat about this twist.
we
I,
should.
I feel like Survivor South Africa is pushing hard. It's really taken some tips from Australian Survivor. It's not going the whole hog, but it's sort of going halfway there. You've got the everyday episodes, which, to be honest, is getting a little bit taxing the 4 times a week. When you're going to do a podcast and you've got to be onto it, and you
Yeah.
can't also go on social media any day because you'll get spoiled, is
What's wrong
becoming.
with getting spoiled? No. We'll leave that. We'll leave that.
So I find that's challenging. And then this, which is, I think, probably something that Australian survivors should look at. I think what they're doing is they're going to show 4 episodes a day, but every week we get one episode which is more of a cliffhanger than an actual boot that isn't a boot. And that's what everyone hates in Australian Survivor, when you watch it for hours and then you watch it for 2 hours and then basically it was for nothing. There was no point. Here, to keep it going, they're sort of doing double episodes with the cliffhangers. And they did give us, in this recent episode, the one on Thursday, an entire 40 minutes of strategy. Now, as a challenge lover, I don't know how you feel about this, Max, but I've never seen a Survivor episode that was only 40 minutes of strategy and a tribal council. How did you feel about that?
Look, I feel look, a lot of times in Survivor, some people look at the challenges and kind of zone off a little bit. Um, and look, I'm guilty of that too. You kind of see the challenge, you see the predictability of what team you think is going to win. Um, now that we're this far into the game, but obviously strategies coming up with the merge, it was integral. It was an integral episode for the series and gave us a lot, especially with the twist that happened. And you need that sort of content to get your opinions on the players and to see where they kind of stand within the merge that's just happened.
What do we
What do you
think
think,
about
CK?
that? Yeah, well, I think the twist was a good way of doing it. It there was enough mix up in the different tribes that was going to be very interesting, though they all did end up coming to a consensus. What I think drove a lot of the outcome, unfortunately, was the advantage getting that was actually occurring at the time. We talked about this
Yeah,
last week. There were just so many idols, and I know some of them were fake idols or expired idols or things that didn't really count, but there was so much stuff, and that it was right that they would just assume that Phil would get an idol because, frankly, anytime that anyone went to the outpost, they'd come back with something. So there was so much going on in terms of advantages that it drove this safe vote of Palessa. And because you're trying to wrangle so many numbers, it's impossible to do something interesting like they were proposing. There's some really
yeah,
interesting stuff coming up through the planning, a split on Shane and Dante, a split on Shane and Meryl, a Meryl Dante, and to really try and change up the game. But I think ultimately they all just settled on a vote that no one cared about. Like no one was going to die to save Palessa. It was an easy
yeah.
vote, and they got the
Well,
outcomes. So what could have been strategically really interesting ultimately ended up being quite just a fait accompli vote.
yeah, exactly. It's one of that's, and I
Praddy says
feel
hi. Hi,
what's up,
Praddy.
Praddy? It's just going back to the whole thing that I said before. She never really um crossed that fence with one alliance or the other. She just tried to juggle it. She tried to play it safe to the merge, and then I feel like she would have had a more solid connection with a particular alliance. And yeah, as a result, and in saying that, with the advantages and the idols, she was kind of the sitting duck that was left there to be picked off. So
Well, I'm wearing my flower blazer today because we're about to hit the merge. It's about new beginnings, like spring. It's a bit of a segue. Come up on the fly. And what do we think about going into this merge? We've got. I want to talk about first the two power alliances that a lot of people don't actually know they exist. So I think that's really interesting in how that's going to come in. We've got, of course, we've got the total package. They're calling themselves the full package now. I was sure it was the total package from that episode 2, but I have to go rewatch the tape of Meryl, um,
yeah,
Marianne, and Steffi, and then you have the no bullshit alliance. I don't know when they were called that, but that's what they're called, apparently. Dino, Phil, and Felix. And I feel like, other than the people in these groups of 3, people don't know that these exist. And with the full package or the total package, hang on.
good.
There.
I
Thanks. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
thought you were gonna put
And
the other comment up.
Def full package. I don't think so, Matthew. Total package. That makes all my like social media posts about our show like factually incorrect. So I don't like that. I'm gonna go with total package. The Everyone knows that Phil and Dino are together, but other than that, no one is aware of these alliances. Felix, Dante thinks he's got Felix. He doesn't realize he's hooked up with those guys. He's telling Felix everything that he's trying to do. And I don't think anyone switched on to those other 3 women being a group. So it could be really interesting as we power into the merge, who's going to take charge and what's going to happen with those groups. How do you think it's going to play out?
Well, and I feel like, as you said, we have those two groups, but we have to remember of the pre-game alliances as well. And I feel like within those alliances would have stronger pre-game alliances within that merge, and that's something you can't you can't look past where that Dante and Felix have that strong. They're probably friends outside of the game,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's even though Felix is in that other alliance, I don't know. It's hard. It's kind of hard to draw the lines when you're playing um, at this level. Yeah,
Well,
for the stakes and for I guess ruining a genuine friendship. I don't know. Like it'd be a very tough situation to be in, and I feel like it would be easier to break an alliance formed within the show versus an alliance formed outside of the show,
I
and we
can,
might see that play out.
I think that's a really good point. In the show is just game when you have those real relationships, and I feel like Felix's game is probably better suited being with Dante than being with Phil and Dino. Anyway, I think Phil and Dino, if either of them are in the end, are going to get a lot of positive votes to win. I think they're both very respected players. Have been a little bit on the outs for this last
Yep.
week and a bit, and that's always respected when you can be at the bottom and power through and then take some charge. And I think Dante is just, I feel like he could give a final tribal for the ages where he just blows up completely and fails to explain any of his moves, gets really
Yep.
aggro at people, and just doesn't deliver an outcome. Um,
Yeah.
so for someone like Felix, you take him to the end. I think you could argue your case pretty well. And no one's going to want to go with Phil Dino. They're both very eloquent, very intelligent guys who have played a good game so far. Tony's another one I feel like people are going to be targeting. She's primed in a good position right
Yeah.
now to really take charge of the game, and I feel like that's the sort of person that even for a merge boot, there could be a consensus. Let's just get rid of Tony because if she gets too far in this thing, she's just going to win it. Could you see that
Yeah.
happening?
She's very connected with a lot of people in that game, and going back to those plays that you just mentioned, they're all getting very favorable edits. And they could be edits with that big build up for being the fallen hero or the hero turned villain or the potential winner. Who knows? Who knows how this edit's going to go? But I feel like all those plays you've mentioned are getting very um, they're looking good. They're someone you could definitely say has a case for winning each and one of those. And I
Yeah.
feel like CK, you haven't gone with one of your remaining picks in Steffi and how strong she's looking at the moment.
Do you think she's looking strong? I sort of look. I'm
I
not.
think she is. And
just.
I might be jinxing myself now where next week we're talking that she got voted out, which would be great regarding the draft picks, but I think she's looking okay. I think she'll make it far. I'm not sure what other people think,
I
just
think.
besides you and
I think my issue for her is she's just look. I picked her late in the draft because she was available, and she's just not my sort of player. I don't really get into her game. And I look. It's a strong game. It got her to fourth the first time she played, and I think she's in a very strong position now. Egley V1 to a Tony. I can't figure out if people just now started realizing how dangerous Tony is, or if they did it earlier and it was just the edit. I feel like everyone, from on that point of view, I feel like everyone knew Tony was dangerous, but they were particularly concerned about her relationships with Tevin and with PK. And once they were gone so early, people calmed. They're like, well, she's lost her besties. She's lost the people with that she's got matching tattoos. She's someone I can pick up now and bring into an alliance of mine. And I think that's kept her safe for a while. But I feel like at the merge, as I said, if I'm one of the other people in this game, I'd probably be looking to take her out pretty soon. Yeah, Steffi, and of course my other fantastic pick, Kalani. Look, you never know about Kalani in South African Survivor. Anyone can win it. The edit tells you nothing. It
I
tells you
know, I
nothing.
know. That's why I'm not reading too much into the edits now, where I feel like they're just giving these big players the nice edit now, and then they'll just be ticked off one by one
So
until we
people
get a
want.
Kalani, who what
Well, I'll pull
Marianne
up.
and
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the draft
Cajun
thing
final three.
because there's been a request earlier for us to um, do the draft consideration.
Yes,
Uh,
please do so. Also, going back to one of your picks, Steffi as well, CK. She has the threat of being a challenge beast. She's looked very strong in the pre-merge
Look, yes, and you,
challenges, and even just how long she was standing on that.
she was very strong in her first season. She is an absolute challenge
Yeah,
beast. So I see no reason she won't make it deep on that basis. Because I also don't think people will see her as a threat to win. She's not. She's very blunt and matter of fact. And I don't think she does a great job of selling her position or selling her game. And in a final tribal, I think you'd be happy to be there with her, depending on who you are. So
yeah,
I've got to cross off a couple of new removals, of course.
yeah.
Uh,
Poor Snyder. Haven't seen him tonight.
Schneider, Zone
Maybe
here.
Annabelle's not on. He's the one who left early.
Yeah, Schneider's lost Pinty. Then Annabelle lost Threeso, which I don't think she'd be too bothered about. I think it was a very
No,
late
she
pick.
was one of Annabelle's last picks.
And then I have lost Palessa, and I'm down to basically my last two picks, which are Steffi and Kalani. It's a very poor choice for me in this draft. If we look at, so I'm left with Steffi and Kalani. Look, to be honest, I could see them both at the end. I could see Kalani as a no vote finalist. So I think anyone would be
That's
happy to
it.
take her to the end, or I could see her just winning the game. In true Survivor South Africa style.
Like the Nicole 2.0.
Yep. And then we have Max with just a whole bunch of things. Your boy band,
The boy band's still going strong. Look,
yeah, they've lost Seamus. He's left the band in disgrace. But
he's their tour manager now, so
look,
he still gets a gig, but he's not on the front line.
the four of them and their manager Shane are in a great position. And you'd be loving life. I think all five of
Look,
these guys could be deep in this game. But I
that's
think
it.
it says something to the merge edit that, other than Kalani, who I've mentioned is probably not going anywhere, Annabelle's picks of Marianne, Meryl, Tony, Tajan, they could all be very significant. So it's very hard to predict where the game's going to go from here. And I thought maybe because just the two of us, as I said earlier, I want my podcast about Survivor Return of the Outcasts to be two straight white guys. So with Annabelle's late withdrawal, I've managed to bring in a familiar face from this podcast in the past. Here is Josh P. Welcome,
Hello.
Josh P. How are you?
I'm
What's
good.
up?
I'm good. Not much.
He's come out of the chat and into your living rooms, into your computer screens. And well, why don't you give us? How have you been feeling about this season? Are you enjoying it? You're not enjoying it? Is it a bit too much? Or
Yeah,
is
there's
it
way
just the
too
right
many
amount?
episodes already. It's way too hard to keep up.
Are you up to date?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not. Was there one this morning?
No.
Yeah, I'm up to date then. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're at the merge.
Who's your winner pick, or who's your top two at the moment, Josh?
It was Teresa, but clearly she's gone.
Teresa was your winner pick?
No, the only reason I thought she was doing really well last season.
Marty's happy to see you. Someone is. There you go.
Somebody is. That's good. But Teresa last season was not social at all and hated everyone and wasn't amongst anyone. And then this season she really switched that up. She became really smart and really analytical in all of her choices early on. So I could see her really making it a lot further than what she did. Unfortunately, she just got a bad draw, and that's Survivor. That happens.
I can't deny she
would be Meryl at the moment.
Yep.
Meryl is your winner pick?
Yeah. I think Steffi and Marion are too strong, and people know that. And Meryl's just that person that's going under the radar. She's liking everyone. I really thought in her season, in season 7, she was in, 7, yeah. I thought she was going to go far in that season as well. So I really like her chances here. And she has the right cast, I think, to go further.
Yeah. I feel you're right. She's got that she's got a lot of meat shields in front of her. And she could just slip through the cracks, do a big move down the line, which might be big enough for her to get the W. Who knows?
Yeah.
I also think Teresa is an absurd winner pick. Like, I don't deny that her game improved
you picked Chappie's
dramatically.
firstly, Ken.
If you want to give If you
The
want to have a
reason
most,
why,
hang on a sec.
I'll give
If
you the
if you
reason.
want to hand out a most improved player award, absolutely, she gets it hands down. She's improved dramatically, and it was an unfortunate outcome for her. But I
Who
feel
gets
like she's never going to win the game. That's an
My
absurd
reason,
pick.
my main reason is because she is that type of player that people would have just written off even when they saw her at the
Yes.
start. Like they would have completely written off. And then out of the gates, she becomes analytical and quite social. I'm like, she's done it for me. Like she won from that point.
Oh, well, she's won at life, but I feel like she perhaps was more threatening. You know, like, yes, initial perceptions. Oh, it's Theriso from the last season. She did nothing. I could just take her to the end and win. And I think people were like, oh, wait a minute. She's not this person. Though I would be interested to know, and this was very curious about her game, how much she was being perceived. And I'm not watching listening to any of the exit press because there's like an episode every day, so it's too hard to do that. But she mentioned, it was either on her boot or the one before, how she wanted to be the GOAT. She wanted to be the only like GOAT left. So she gets dragged to the end and then can pull out like I'm a GOAT strategy. And I looked at how I was perceived on my season. I thought people would look at me like that. And then, but even though they thought I was that, I wasn't that. I was making moves. Here were the moves I made. Like she had a really great strategy planned, but I think maybe she didn't do such a good job of it, and people realized she wasn't a GOAT and she was making moves.
Well, the GOAT player, I guess, won last season, like in Nicole.
Yeah.
So I think that she got a lot of inspiration from that because considering it was her season and being a GOAT in a group of returnees is the best way to do it. It's the best way.
I think the GOAT is such a good strategy nowadays. Like the GOAT is so powerful because they're always there. They always cast the vote, and they can be, like, especially deep in the end game. They're majority of the time the swing vote. They're the difference between who goes and who stays.
To be
So
fair,
the GOAT is very strong player.
I think Nicole picked up a lot of votes based on the fact that people didn't really like Smash, and had Chappies not lost his concentration, lost his balance, fell off that challenge, like she beat Chappies in the final challenge. Like if she's up against Chappies at the end, he's winning, even though half that jury hated him. Like he's still winning. You don't agree, Josh?
I don't know what's happened to my camera.
Yeah. Josh, what do we think of Chappies? Now we can't vote on this because we're not in South Africa, but I would like to I would like to push this campaign for the listeners that are in South Africa, which I'm sure is many. Chappies is trying to run a campaign to get the fan favorite award from being first boot. Josh, as a former first boot, do you endorse this campaign?
No, he was horrible this season. He just he didn't.
Horrible.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, can you see me? By the way, I can't see myself.
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, that's fine. Chappies. Yeah, look, he went into that tribal confident, and he didn't know what another name was. How do you ever, especially Chappies, he should know that if there's another name.
He knew the other name. He was voting for someone.
Oh yeah, but two names. You should know two names when you're going into tribal, not one.
Why should you know two names, Josh?
Well, because you should know what you should know what the person that's going to get voted out is going to vote.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're going into a tribal and there's only one name that you know, the other name is definitely you.
Did you know that was going to happen on your first boot?
100%. Yes.
Did you think there was any conceivable way though that they would vote out over the person who went out following you?
No, I knew my name was gone. I knew I was out there.
Yeah.
I heard my name when I was heading back from a confessional. I wish there was more footage, but I was hiding in a bush.
Oh, really? Cool. You spy shack?
Yeah. I was hiding in a bush. I hit up against like the bushes when they were all in the camp. There's like bushes here, camp here. And I just heard my name get called out. I'm like, yeah, I'm gone. And then we had to go straight to tribal. I know.
So you weren't 80% confident like Chappies was.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. No.
In my experience, you should never be that confident.
I even said
that was if you're gonna vote for confessional of the year, that's the confessional of the season.
Yeah. You shouldn't be confident. Anyway, I think we should all. I don't believe that the fan favorite has to be the winner. I don't believe the fan favorite has to make the merge. You can be the best by being the first. So I support Cheppy's campaign. If we could all vote, let's go vote. I don't think we can. It's region block. Maybe I'll set up some South African VPNs for us all, and then we can all vote for Cheppy.
Looks like he's got 3 more
I wouldn't
votes.
vote him. I don't think I'd vote him. I loved him in his last season. Don't get me wrong.
He won
But
the fan favorite there.
I would vote Teresa.
Does
It's
Chappie's get another run? Will he get another run, you reckon?
No.
On
I think South Africa with returnees is done. However, if they ever bring out an international season, for sure he's on it.
Why do you think they're done with the returnees?
I just think that we'll get a couple of more seasons, and then we'll get like an all-star season, and they won't have any of these returnees in it.
I think he could make the All-Stars.
I guess he might be the only one out of this cast to do that.
Yes.
Because he was
Tony,
a first boot. And he came
the winner of this, maybe? If like Tony or someone wins this.
I mean, I'd love to see Marion again as well. Even though she's
but there are some other good people. Like, you know, there's lots of people from Chappie's season that people would like to see back. Santony, Tyson. I would love to see Kieran back.
I found it sorry.
You found Kieran boring. He was a strategic mastermind.
Yeah, I hated it. It was so boring. It was just like he was a strategic mastermind, but with no like personality.
What's sort of your favorite sort of Survivor player, Josh?
I love like a Natalie Anderson who will call people out when she needs to, and has a great strategic game and social game. Somebody like that. Somebody who is not afraid to, you know, shake people and get people scared. I think that's the right way to play, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, this show, I must say, Josh, you came in, you tried to be our Annabelle replacement. And like this is just like Nirvana bringing in, I don't know, someone to sing. But you've
bringing it. It's Queen bringing in brutal. It's never going to be.
Like, I don't know if it can do that. You can sing the song, but is it the same?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Marty is not happy with your. He's very unhappy. Kieran was fantastic, great strategist, and a great social game. Tyson should be nowhere near an all-star season. Yes, but he's so hot. Tyson's like a very attractive man, and you know, ratings are not always about the strategic masterminds. Do you agree with that, Josh?
Look, sort of. I don't know. Like, I watch Survivor for characters half the time, and when you got the strategic player in there, you just really want them to have like some type of character, and there was none. I didn't see it. I didn't get excited like everyone else did.
About Kieran?
Yeah, his confessionals were game body. It was just gross. It was, yeah, not a fan.
John says Tyson had the personality of Aussie Stick. I don't know. I think the Stick was a bit more likable. Tyson got very unlikable by the end when he was having his little bitch sessions about Chappie's food situation. To be honest, I think a lot of those guys owe the value of their characters to Chappie's for his like just antagonistic behavior that gave them content. Like them getting annoyed with Chappie's is what made them interesting. Whereas without that, they're a bit nothing. And I think that's a bit what we've seen with Palessa. Like, as much as I love her game, she seems like a lovely person. A big part of what made her on her earlier season was the conflict with Tom and the storyline with Tom that went for such a long time. You know, sometimes with characters, it is those conflicts that make them interesting. Like, I think another good example of that, it's in a very negative context now, and it's really dated. But if you go all the way back to Africa, Survivor Africa, and the relationship between Frank and Brandon, I want to say, is that right? Come on, Survivor fans, Brandon. Frank was the guy that was in the military that was extremely clearly homophobic, and then you had the very gay guy, and then they ended up having to go watch the movie together and whatever. Frank was just a shit character, but only enjoying his uncomfortability with the the homosexual man in his camp is the only thing that made him remotely watchable. And that's not acceptable now, but it was a different time. It was 20 years ago. But I'm just saying sometimes those conflicts is all that's worth watching for some people.
Yes. Palessa this season I actually liked more, to be honest with you. She brought it was good to see her like have a strategic side.
Yeah.
I think. It was a different side of her, and I liked that. I did. And she was very calm about it as well. So yeah.
I call him Marty, by the way, because that's the name they assigned him in Backyard, like immediately. And then I don't think he was called that for the rest of the program, but I still called him Marty. I don't know if he's called Marty in real life, but he's Marty to me now. Marty says, draft picks aside, current trajectory aside, who are your favorites so far this season? We'll go to you, Max. Who is your favorite of the season?
My favorite is Dino. I've enjoyed watching him this season. He's struggled. He's been on the bottom for a little bit, even though he's had like strong allies. He's got through like the swaps, and I feel like him making the merge for the first time is completely different experience, and I feel like he's been good TV too, and I've enjoyed watching him.
What about you, Josh?
Yeah, Dino's been nice. He's been good to watch. He's the only player left from season 8 as well.
I feel like
interesting.
I feel like Dino is a good representative of the every man, every woman Survivor super fan, because that's who he is. He is an utter Survivor super fan. He plays orgs, and apparently he's had this LRG with Tony or whatever. And you can tell that like he just loves the game, and he's there to. He's not there to become a TV star. He's not there to. But he's there to play, and he's playing really well. And I think he's, particularly the second time, I think he's playing so much better than the first time. And I think he's what we would all hope we could play like if we were on the real deal. Like, keep us, but obviously you're a super fan, but you're managing it, you're keeping it restrained, and you just play, he's the sort of guy who just wants to make all the big moves in the world, and he's not doing that. He's making subtle moves, he's building social bonds, he's building a winner's game, not a flashy game. And I feel like people like us who love this game so much and talk about it and whatever, when we get on anything, org, LRG, whatever, we want to be flashy, we want to be big.
Yeah, and that was very well said. And I like how outside of the game, he's just put himself within these like the communities, whether it's like the buff groups that he's now a part of, selling South African buffs and sharing posts for Melbourne Survivor, and just kind of get involved in like happily talking to people on Facebook. I just feel like he gets it. Like, this is his community. He enjoys it. He enjoys people supporting him, watching him on the show, hoping he's doing well. And it's just cool. Like, he's a good guy. Yeah. Even though I haven't spoken to him like online, I like his interactions. I've been from afar watching his interactions with the community, and it's really cool. That's what you want.
It's really great to watch like a super fan, somebody who loves it as much as like what you do, actually play and actually get a good run as well. Like, and you can tell he appreciates it as well. Like what he's, his reaction when he got to the merge.
Yeah.
He
like you could tell he really wanted it. Like, I don't think he cares if he loses now. He's made it a lot further.
Which is the worst attitude to have. It's going to give you a very poor outcome. I think everyone wants to make the merge, and then sometimes you don't make it, and it's brutal. But I think you shouldn't stop playing. I think he's in a good position.
I think he knows he is as well.
We have a couple of comments on Palessa. Marty says he thought she was strategic in season 6, but it was more eyes up, play what was in front of her rather than long-term strategy. I think he's right about that, but I don't think she was given much opportunity for long-term strategy. And John's view was, didn't she only vote correctly once? Maybe she didn't like being in the majority this time. She was often in the minority, though I think once her and Tom got swapped onto the tribe, so 3, they never really went to tribal, except for once where she had an idol. So Marty wants to add his favorite players. He asked the question, now he wants to give the answer. If he's picking one man and one woman, he's picking Marion and Phil. Phil's winning with the confessionals. I don't want to get into Phil's confessionals. It's a bit over the top to me.
I like it. I think he's funny. I
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
He kind of puts a little. Oh, all right, 2 against 1. I think.
He's the second best firefighter to play Survivor this year.
Okay.
Mike's a better firefighter.
Mark is a
Just
lot better firefighter.
I guess my favorite, if I had to pick a favorite, I don't know. All my favorites got voted out. I'm into Dino for the
We
reasons
know it's
that
Chappies.
yeah, and then it was Tevin, and Plesser. We know. Look, for the reasons that have been said, I think Dino is very strong, and I also really like. Maybe that's why I'm tuning out of this season a bit. I like Tajan. I like Tajan. He's good. I like his vibe. He's playing a really subtle game. It's the sort of subtle game that I know I would never be able to play. He's still making moves. He's in there. He's got alliances going on. No one's looking at him. He came in with basically zero pre-game relationships. No one's here from his season. And I think he's played a really strong game from day one. He was in an alliance that mattered day one, but no one's ever talking about voting him out. But he has played the game, which is the best position you can be in. Yeah. Everyone's talking about voting out Dino. Like, Dino's going to be a target for the next 5 episodes. Yeah. So is Tony. So is Dante. Is Tajan the target? I don't think so.
I'm very confused on why they brought him back, considering he was the only one from season 4.
Have you seen season 4?
No, I haven't personally. I haven't watched it
because it's not available on 10 Play.
Yeah, so I haven't watched it. So it's good to see him for the first time, I guess. That this is the first part I get to see of him. But I'm just confused on why they brought somebody back from so far long ago.
And that was a long time ago, because I think for those that aren't familiar with the history of South African Survivor, there were 3 seasons, I think in the early 2000s, similar to when Australia had its first and failed season, filmed near my home of Adelaide, somewhere in Port Lincoln-ish, that got cancelled halfway through. For anyone who saw it, it was atrocious. If you can pick it up somewhere, it's train wreck. I reckon the orgs, the LRGs that are made by Australian communities are better quality than that. And I know it was 20 years ago, but it's still better quality than that. If anyone who knows to ever see it. And I'm talking about production as well, and like sets, not just the characters and the gameplay. And then they had a large break, did 2 seasons, which is a large break for 4, then another large break for 5, which was a champions contenders thing, sort of with like athletes.
Yeah.
Oh no, the athletes one was 3, and then I think they brought back 2 captains from that season for 4. Anyway, the champions contenders sort of thing, and so athletes on it, and then Tajan was on that. But there was these big gaps until they really got rolling with sort of 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. Hopefully it continues upwards. But it's really weird with their timing this season. Like I don't understand why it's 4 episodes a week.
Matt Sandy's champions is 5. Thank you. Yeah, because Kalani would have been a champion, I expect. Thank you for that. Look, we don't know what the deal is in South Africa. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, Aussie. That Tajan's the only one that was on season 4, and how interesting that is, and how well he's played without having the game connections other people have had. We don't know how things are airing in South Africa. We don't know how this is rating, and we don't know the purpose. Like, the reason Australian Survivor has as many episodes as it does and is drawn out as it is because, for those who don't know, in Australia, the networks have an obligation to air a certain amount of Australian content. And while they used to make Neighbours or other TV shows, Blue Healers, it's much cheaper to make reality TV. So that's why you get weeks of Survivor, long episodes, followed by weeks of MasterChef, because it easily fills their content quota. That's why everyone goes, Australian Survivor's too long, too many apps. Well, it's never going to change, because that's why they make it. I don't know if South Africa's got a similar position. Probably not, because they've just sort of adopted this. And this format isn't really that different. It's just condensed.
I am glad, though, that we are getting, instead of a non-elimination episode, we are getting half an episode.
Yeah, I said that before. It's much more satisfying. The non-eliminations in Australian Survivor after watching 2 hours of an episode are so unsatisfying.
Oh, what about when they come back into the game after being voted out? That's the worst.
And there were never top 3 of them coming back. Three of them coming back was the like
3 of them made the final 5. Am I wrong
Yeah.
in saying that? Or
I think you're probably right.
2 of them, Geordie
it's
came
just,
back. Geordie came back as well, but
Yeah.
the other 2.
It's just the gross thing that the Australian Survivor are doing.
So in terms of our comments, Matt's confrontation was in season 4, as I said. Marty had a question. Can anyone confirm if that season 4 was celebs versus plebs and the plebs started the game in old school prisoner outfits? This may be a question for Matt because he seems to know all about it. Matt Aussie, because he's talked about Tejin was doing a good character on season 4, hence why he's back. He says the final 2 sucked and the jury was very bitter, and he prays to God the Oz copies the format that we've just talked about. Instead of doing non-eliminations, just spread the episodes. The problem is, that was the celeb season. Yeah, Matt knows it all. It's fantastic. Thank you, Matt. He's forgiven me for trying to publicly vote him out in that mini that time. Thank you for sticking with us on that circumstance. I think the difference, though, with the Australian situation is that these episodes are still 40 minutes. So if they put 40-40, and that's one thing. The Australian things are still 2 hours. Like, you can't have a 2 hour and then a cliffhanger and then another. Like, could you imagine if they gave us 2 hours of Australian strategy?
40 minutes, I think, for an episode is like perfect. It's a bit longer than your standard. Man. It's a bit longer than your standard American episode. But I think 40 minutes is like the perfect amount.
I agree. And I don't suck for that, Matt. I won that game. So any move I made was the right move. So that's what I stand by. Yeah. That's my jury speech. I know I didn't get your vote, but I won anyway. So
no, I think Matt voted for me that
you did vote for you, Max, for my 4-3 win.
I got you back next time, Matt. We'll get CK back, all right?
Did you two make a final 2 together?
Yes, in the mini that we keep talking about. I always bring this mini up. It's my claim to fame in Survivor history. I won. I won 4-3. Matt Aussie was on it, who keeps doing. It's one of Praddy's minis. And also, remember when I talked about Backyard 4, and I talked about how I voted out Abby? That was also in that mini. This mini was a glorious 4 hours of my life.
You beat some decent people.
Look, it helped that Max and Annabelle were on it, and I was able to align with them. Given it, and that's just what we talk about with this show. Bringing it back to South Africa here, those pre-game relationships, the people that have played together before. Max and Annabelle had played, and I had played an LRG together and built a bond for that, and we were never going to vote each other off in some 4-hour mini. Like, it's just not going to happen. And those sorts of relationships are important. And we talk about before, will Dante go with the No BS alliance, or will Felix? Or will he go with Dante, who he looks like has been mates with for 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, exactly right. And that's where the spanner is going to be thrown, creating some chaos, hopefully. And for our sake, good TV. And
we'll wrap it up.
For my sake, one of your picks going, CK.
Mate, you've got this dinner in the bag. The belt is coming your way. Next week, I'll bring the belt out and might as well just ship it to you so you can have it for the week after that. Let's call who's going to go. Who's going to be the merge boot here? No one wants to be the merge boot, but someone has to be it. Who do we think is going to be the merge boot? My money, as I said earlier, I'm going to put hard on Tony. Too big of a threat. Easy target for everyone to agree on without breaking up any of their alliances. It doesn't require Felix to betray Dante or his crew. The other group of women that are all tight, that's not one of them. I think it's something that everyone can get behind, and it's a strategically smart move.
I think it's going to be Dante as the merge boot, but I think Shane's going to be the other person that they're going to toss up between. So the Dante versus Shane, and Dante will be on the receiving end.
John thinks it'll be Tejin. Matt thinks he wants it to be anyone but Dino. Hopeful thinking.
Yeah. I think we may get like collateral damage from potential idols. from like Steffi or something trying to save Dante. I don't know if that will happen, but I think Dante will go, but collateral damage could even be somebody like Phil.
Yeah, feels a smart move if you want to go for Dino. He's got that idol. It's weakening Dino.
I think that may be like the collateral damage vote potentially. But yeah.
Matt doesn't want a pre-merge Pagonging. We're at the merge now, so do you mean post-merge Pagonging? I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the way they do these South Africa seasons with the swaps and also these relationships is, I can't even, no one's thinking about who's on the this tribe. Oh, he means the pre-merge, like, I think he means one of the pre-merge swap groups taking out the other. I don't think so. I think there's too many relationships across the board. I think in returnee seasons, that's never really going to happen because there's too many relationships that exist to make that work. Whereas in a fresh season and Pagonnings really only happen when there's not swaps as well. Like, and of course they happen when there's not swaps. So you don't know these people. You just worked with these people for like a week. Unless you hate each other, you're just going to roll with it. And even sometimes they do hate each other. Like, what season? The one with Aris and Shane. They couldn't stand each other, but still kept going with it. Well, anyway, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Annabelle's internet will hopefully be back next week, and our star will return. Kurt Cobain will raise from the dead and play a couple more shows. So we thank Josh for joining us. So
thank you, Josh.
I couldn't just have two straight white guys up here for an hour. I believe too much in diversity for that, and particularly with watching Survivor South Africa. So I'm glad that you came and were able to be a big part of our show.
Look, I am no Annabelle, but
he was a big in, CK. Josh is a big in.
Yeah. And Max, thank you for joining me as always. You're dominating the season. I think there's something to be said about picking all men in the South African Survivor season because the men have historically performed in this format.
As I said earlier, I'm playing the odds of strategy, and I'm a gambling man. I went all in on the guys, and my boy band's still there. Hopefully they're singing their songs at the end.
They were singing that "We Are the Champions" cover that Five did, just to finish it off. All right, thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you next week and see how things have fallen out from the merge.
Bye.